Hello, and welcome to week 6 of your diabetes education program. My name is Connie Horton. I'm the diabetes educator who is doing this recorded session for you since you missed your week 6 of your Zoom class. I've been a diabetes educator for more than 25 years and have had type 1 diabetes for over 40 years. This week, in week 6, we're going to talk about our blood glucoses and problem solving with our records, so you will need your record book with you. You're also going to need your Type 2 Diabetes Basics book and My Food Plan handout. We're also going to discuss some today about counting carbohydrates and using the My Food Plan to look more closely at carbohydrates and the amount of carbohydrates that are in foods. How are you feeling about checking your blood sugar? I would encourage you to look at your log that you brought today with you and look at your blood sugar control. Look at the number of times you were above your goal and the number of times you were within your goal range. The goal is to have at least half of the readings in goal range. Remember, range for blood sugar should be 70 to 130 before meals and less than 180 1 to 2 hours after meals. Hopefully the number that is in range is getting better with the goal of more that are in range than are out of range. There are many things that you can evaluate when looking at a value that is out of range. Things you might look at include, what did you put in your body? Different types of foods and portion sizes can have an effect on your blood glucose level. If you eat out or take out meals, those may make a difference in your blood glucose levels. Of course, alcohol and medication also can affect blood glucose levels. The things you do, such as activity, stress, or illness, those things can affect your blood glucose level as well. And then there's other events and situations that can have an effect on your blood sugar, such as holidays, parties, vacations. When reviewing your glucose, how would you handle one value out of range versus a pattern of levels that are out of range? This is a picture from the record book, not your daily log, which we'll be using today a little bit later to look at patterns in your blood glucose level. It's meant to show you how to look for patterns of high glucose levels. One value out of range may be a certain circumstance that caused the elevation, while a pattern is likely due to something done or not done every day. It can also mean there's a need for a change in your overall care plan. Review patterns with your medical team. In this example, the blood sugar is in range before the evening meal, but not after the evening meal. So things I would think about is, am I sticking to my meal plan at my mealtime? And if I am, maybe I could go for a walk after my meal or some kind of activity to prevent my blood sugar from going so high. Or maybe I need more medication with my evening meal to get my blood sugar down after the meal. When your blood sugar is good before you eat, but too high after you eat, then you should really focus probably on what you ate. So we're going to look at carbohydrates and their effect on blood sugar levels. In this example, John's glucose is 120 before his evening meal, but 2 hours later his glucose is 241. What could be the cause? So we're going to think about how many carbohydrates did he eat during his meal, or what types of food did he eat during his meal. In your packet you have a pamphlet called My Food Plan. It goes along with your Eating for Health pamphlet, but it goes into more detail about carbohydrate grams. Let's look at the front cover. You can see how colorful the plate is. Colors are very important in our food. You have protein with the chicken and chickpeas. You have healthy fat with the avocado and nuts. And you have a healthy, colorful vegetables with the cabbage and broccoli. There is a small amount of carbohydrate in this plate with the rice that's in the middle. If you're looking for more information on carbohydrate grams and serving sizes, then this is the pamphlet for you. Using the information inside, you can see which foods in each category have higher carbohydrate amounts. The higher the amount, the greater your glucose will increase. Remember, when you build your plate, you can have up to 3 items or 3 servings that can increase your blood sugar. This is equal to 45 grams of carbohydrate, because a serving of carbohydrate we consider to be 15 grams. Let's look at some specific items. On the next slide, you can see that a bagel is going to have more carbohydrate than a small bun. So if you're looking on the first page in your handout, and it says bagel, 4 to 5 inch bagel, which isn't a real big bagel, it's going to have 48 to 67 grams of carb. But if you look at a bun, like a hamburger bun, it's going to have between 22 and 30 grams of carb. Let's look at rice. A cup of cooked rice is going to have about 45 grams of carb. And pasta, if you look at pasta, a cup cooked is going to have around 42 grams of carbs. But if we look at acorn squash, which is underneath the potato area, a half a cup of it cooked is going to have 15 grams of carbs. We want to note that the serving sizes are different, such as a cup of the rice or pasta compared to half a cup on the acorn squash. So if you had a cup of acorn squash, it's going to be 30 grams of carbs, whereas a cup of rice and pasta are going to be 42 to 45 grams of carbs. If you only ate half a cup of rice, then you're going to have less carbs, more like 22 or 23 grams of carbs. On the next section is fruits. It's recommended we have 2 to 3 servings a day, especially whole fruit. Look at the difference between a large piece of fruit and a medium piece of fruit, as well as fruit juice. So a large apple is going to have 27 to 31 grams of carbohydrates, whereas a small apple is going to have 15 to 18 grams. Fruit juice, a half a cup, is going to have anywhere from 11 to about 16 grams of carbohydrates. Most juice boxes, when you get a juice box, is about 3/4 of a cup or more. What I'd really like for you to do when it comes to juice and some of those things is take a measuring cup and fill it up with a half a cup of water. Pour that water into the glass you normally drink out of or use. Compare what you thought a half a cup would look like in the glass versus what it actually looks like. I'd like for you to do this after class, just so you can see what an actual 4 ounces or half a cup of liquid looks like. Many people are very surprised to see how it looks in the glass compared to what they consume. Now let's look at snacks, sweets, and condiments. If you look at chips, potato or tortilla chips, 10 to 15 chips is going to have 16 to 20 grams of carbohydrate. If you look at almonds or peanuts, a 1/4 cup is going to have about 5 to 6 grams of carbohydrates. And then popcorn is 3 cups. 3 cups of popcorn is going to have 14 to 20 grams of carbohydrate. Again, take note of the serving size of the popcorn versus the chips. 3 cups of popcorn compared to 10 to 15 chips. So the popcorn is probably going to fill you up better and have about the same number of carbs. You can also compare the almonds to the chips as a snack. Remember, you don't have to have snacks. Snacks are optional. But if you need a snack, a lower carb amount in a snack is better to use. Now, let's look at the food label, which is going to be, if you open up the pamphlet all the way and turn it over, your food label is going to be right there on the back. Notice at the top the number of servings per container. 2 servings per container in this item. The serving size is about a cup. So if I were to eat a cup of this food, let's just say it's some type of cereal. If I had a cup of this cereal, it would be 27 grams of carbs. But if I ate all of the container of cereal, which is 2 servings per the container, then I'm going to have 54 grams of carbs. We will talk about food labels again in another lesson. This resource should give you more information on carbohydrates and food choices than the materials that we have given you previously. There is a section on foods that have little or no effect on glucose and a list of low or non-carbohydrates food if you need more examples of things that might be good for snacks. So low and non-carbohydrate foods are going to be some of your vegetables, your proteins, and of course your fats. Foods with little or no effect on the glucose are listed at the bottom of the middle of the page in the green box. There's also a section in this pamphlet to write down menus you would like to try. After class, I'd like for you to write down some meals that you would like to try that have a total of 45 grams of carbohydrates each. Remember, you can use this pamphlet or your label to determine how many grams of carbs are in the item. If you're craving a food that's higher in carbohydrate, remember you don't have to eat the entire serving. So if you wanted to eat a bagel, maybe you choose to eat half a bagel instead. Oftentimes a smaller portion will curb the craving. Now let's look at problem solving with our records. Take a look at your daily log and let's circle those that are in range, our blood glucose levels that are in range, and put squares about the ones that are out of range. How many are in range versus out of range? Can you come up with reasons why some of these may be out of range? Do you see any areas for improvement? These are things I'd like for you to look at and think about. Review them and try to brainstorm on why or what improvements can be made in nutrition or physical activity that might benefit you. We're trying to teach you to evaluate your own readings and have you look at readings to determine trends in your blood sugar levels. This is the end of week 6. Your educator at the end of week 7 may spend some time with you to review your logs since you didn't get to do that this time with an actual educator. Next week, we'll be reviewing the goal you set 4 weeks ago. Before class, I would like you to complete the pages 62 and 63 in your Type 2 Basics book, which talks about your goals. Look at recommendations on page 65 and write down your own ideas at how to better control your glucose levels. Please bring your goal sheet and your Diabetes Basics books next week for class. Have a great day.